Hello everybody and welcome to Our Zany Life. We are a multi-generational family that includes my kiddo, myself, and my parents. We all live together and help each other out. Along with the humans, we also got our fair share of dogs and cats. Just like everybody else, the past few years have hit us really hard. My dad has Parkinson's with Alzheimer's dementia. My mother is elderly who has a lot of health issues, and my son is my son, and then there's me. I myself most definitely lead that crazy train. Over the past few months, we've started receiving assistance from our community. One of the hardest things I ever did was when I had to reach out to my son's school for help. We barely had food, and there for a time my son was going to school with holes in his shoes. To say I felt like a failure, not just as a person, but as a mom and a daughter, is an understatement. Swallowing my pride and asking for help was the best decision I had made in a very long time. Thanks to my son's school, my job, and my community, we are now on our way to being set up for success. I've picked up a few tricks and tips along the way, and I'm super excited to share them with everybody. Making sure my family is fed and taken care of transcends any politics or religion out there. I am super excited to show you guys what I have learned, so here we go. We receive a box of food once a week from our local food pantry. I'm going to show you what we got in that box. I'm also going to show you some of the things I picked up at the store and items that were already in my pantry. So to start off with, we got a loaf of white bread, peanut butter, 2 cans of green beans, non-fat dry milk, apples, and those little Welch's grape jellies. This morning at the store, I picked up some smoked bacon. It's kind of like just like bits and pieces of it, a ham steak, honey ham sandwich meat, bologna, a block of medium cheddar cheese, some of those La yogurts, and sliced cheese. So let me tell you guys, the bologna's in a bag because my son got into it the first thing. Next up are some items we're going to be using this week that I already had in my pantry. That includes some of these Tastitos. They're kind of like generic Cheerios, some mac and cheese, and a few cans of tuna fish. Some of these items have come from previous food pantry boxes that we just have not used yet. Next up, we have some veggies that were already in my fridge from last week. That is cucumbers, some tomatoes, and some bell peppers. First thing I did was take the apples from the box this week and toss it in the fruit bowl. I don't know about y'all's family, but with mine, out of sight is out of mind. It's always best to have that fruit right there in center where everybody can see it. Next thing I did was chop up the cucumbers and the bell peppers. I also diced up the tomatoes, but forgot to take a photo. Having these veggies cut up just makes it easier for us to make sure they get eaten. It also saves time when I can just toss them in my lunchbox ready to go. Okay guys, let's talk about this bacon. What I really like about this bacon is, one, the price. It's phenomenal. This right here is all the pieces ends that just didn't match up or weren't to the manufacturer's specifications, so they sell it to you at a discount price. I kid you not, it's the exact same bacon as the big expensive brand. Before I started frying it up, I went ahead and bagged some up and stuck it in the freezer so that next time I made beans, I would have bacon there. I like this bacon because it's thick and fatty, perfect flavoring for beans. You see all the oil in that pan? That is liquid gold. Don't throw it out. It's great for seasoning your cast iron, for making gravies. Here in a minute, I'm going to show you how I keep the grease and what I do to keep it clean. Here is the finished bacon. We kind of like ours a combination crispy and chewy, and I do keep it a little bit more on the soft chewy side because this is going to end up being microwaved and that will crisp it up some. I allow it to cool down a few minutes before I start storing it. What I do is I have this one big old coffee cup that is only for my bacon grease. I take a coffee filter and I secure it around it, and then I will pour the bacon grease from the pan into the filter, and then I let it drain. And you can see as it drains out, it leaves like all the yucky stuff behind, and you just are left with pure bacon grease. I cap it with aluminum foil, I secure it, and then I keep it next to my stove for whenever I need it. Next, we're going to be meal prepping cereal bars. My kiddo does not like cereal and milk, so I have to be inventive or get creative, and I came across this recipe for cereal bars, so I used what I have. It's equal parts peanut butter and honey to 3 cups of cereal. Today I'm using the mini muffin tins, but you can actually do this however you want. If you want to use the bigger ones, you can. If you don't want to use muffin tins and you just want to do spoon drops, you can do that. It's pretty much whatever you want. I've even put them all in an 8 by 9 or 8 by 4, whatever it is, and press it down and then cut it into squares. See, right here, I'm just trying to show off. I'm trying to show that I got these mad skills, that I could measure and pour and take a photo at the same time. No, didn't really work out for me. What you're going to do is you're just going to take the honey and the peanut butter and you're going to melt it slowly over the stove. You want to make it to where it's kind of like a runny consistency. You don't want it too thick and you don't want it too thin. Definitely keep it on low so you don't burn it. Patience is the key for this. Next, take your cereal of choice and mix it together. I do suggest a plain cereal over a flavored cereal. It will come out a lot better. That's just my opinion. In the middle of stirring, I remembered I had some of these semi-sweet chocolate chips, so I ran to the fridge, got those, came back. You can pretty much add whatever you want into this. It's totally customizable. After that, go ahead and portion it out. Make sure you grease whatever you're going to put it in, though, because these will stick. Next, you're going to want to take them and pop them in the fridge. I suggest having them in the fridge for about 3 hours or so. And I store them in the fridge too. I put them in a container. Today I had a surplus of gallon baggies, so I popped them out and put them in the baggie. These are going to stay good in the fridge for about a week, give or take a day or so. And we eat them for breakfast, for snacking, for throwing in lunch boxes. They're a very versatile little treat. Next up, it is a tea break. I think a very well-deserved one. Yes, that is my tea in a coffee mug, literally, coffee. It was my New Year's resolution to give up coffee, and although I haven't quite managed to give up coffee all the way, I have cut it back to only 1 or 2 cups a week. I was drinking up to 3 cups of coffee a day just because I grew up on it. Coffee is just part of our life. But I noticed with all that coffee, I was doing more of the sugar and the creamer. So this was my attempt to get a little bit healthier. One of the great side effects of it was I noticed when I went from the coffee to the tea, my anxiety went down a little bit, which was really good. Right now, I'm currently obsessed with Lady Grey, which is a different version of Earl Grey. Put a nice healthy slush of heavy cream in there and you're good to go. Okay, tea break is over. Back to work. Using the loaf of bread that came in my food pantry box, I'm going to make ham and cheese toasties. I'm going to assemble them, put them back in its original bag, and put parchment paper in between each sandwich and toss it in the freezer. All you do is take them out of the freezer, put them directly in your oven or your toaster oven, and you bake or toast until desired doneness. I like these because they're fast, they're convenient, and anybody can just pop them and go. If you wanted to turn these into a grilled cheese sandwich, all you do is have to thaw them in the fridge overnight, and then when you're ready to cook them, put your butter on both sides, pop them on your stove, and grill until you're done. These will last frozen about a month again, give or take a few days. Continuing on, I'm going to go ahead and cut this up and prep this up for 2 different meals. One of them I'm going to chop up and I'm going to do a mac and cheese bake using the macaroni and cheese you saw earlier. And then the other part I'm going to slice up and we're going to have for breakfast in the morning. I have a Monday through Friday job where I'm usually up between 4:15 in the morning, 4:30 at the absolute latest, and I usually don't get home between 5:30 and 6. So any little thing I can do to make dinner easier during the week, I will, including simple little prep like this. Here you can see how I turned that ham into a breakfast for my kiddo. It's just added some sliced apples, some cheese, and some of those meal prep cereal bars. Nice and simple and very wholesome. Okay, for my breakfast, well, I don't like your regular typical breakfast foods, so I turned my ham into like a little sandwich using leftover French bread from the night before, put some mustard on it and some sliced cheese, and served it with some of the tomatoes I prepped and an orange, and I'm good to go. The next recipe is going to be a little unexpected. We are going to make homemade butter using that dry milk we got from the pantry. Now, is this going to be the best tasting butter you ever had in your life? No. But when you don't have the money to buy butter and you need butter, this is a great way to achieve that goal. All you're going to do is toss everything into a blender and you're going to blend it for about a minute or two, and you're going to blend it till it becomes super thick. Now, it's not going to be solid, but it will be thick and a little bit runny. You cover it up and then you place it in the fridge, I would say for at least 3 to 4 hours. For tonight's dinner, I'm actually going to turn that butter into garlic butter to go along with our chili and spaghetti. I know it can be more economical to make your own chili, but this is where the multi-generation comes into play. Both my parents are in their 70s and they like what they like. They're not going to change it just because I might come up with some new creative recipe. So tonight, we're keeping it nice, simple, and most importantly, familiar. The chili spaghetti is as simple as you can get. You cook your spaghetti noodles to how you like it. In my family, we've got to make them super, super soft. If they are not super soft, my mom chokes on them, so there's no al dente in this family. Everybody in my family eats their chili spaghetti a little bit different, and we'll go into that here in a moment. To make the garlic spread, it's super, super simple. You take about 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm using our homemade butter here. And then you add your garlic and your spice. I used parsley only because I was out of Italian seasoning. I don't add any salt because I use Parmesan cheese in it, and that's what gives it that nice, salty, unctuous taste. Split or cut your bread of choice, however you choose. Lay it out, and then you're going to spread your garlic butter over it. Pop it in the oven, 400 till it's nice and toasty and it's done. Boom, you got nice tasting garlic bread. When you use the homemade butter from the powdered milk, the texture of the garlic butter, it looks a little bit off, but it still tastes acceptable. And here we have my mom and my dad's plate for dinner. My mom's is the blue plate with the blue bowl, and my dad's is the red plate with like the greenish bowl. My mom uses her chili spaghetti, or she puts on top of it just straight up shredded cheese. She has some slices of garlic bread and a side of mandarin oranges in gel. My dad cannot eat the spaghetti. He does not have the motor skills or the dexterity to pick up the spaghetti, so the chili by itself is the best option for him. Unfortunately, due to his illnesses, he just does not eat as much. He's got 1 slice of garlic bread, and then he also has the mandarin oranges in the gel also. Some of the little extra things we do to help my dad out is like take the top of the mandarin gels off to make it easier for him. If he's got to struggle to do something just to eat, he's not going to do it. And it is incredibly vital that we get as much nutrients to him as we can. Next up is mine. I topped my chili spaghetti with sour cream and shredded cheese, and I had a few slices of bread, and I had my Diet Pepsi. So let me tell you guys, shred your own cheese. I'm telling you, you're going to save some money, and it tastes better. Pre-shredded cheese has flour in it. That's what stops it from like clumping together. I can taste that, and I don't like that. What you don't see is how my son likes his chili spaghetti. Why? Because he does not like chili spaghetti. I knew that when I chose to have this for dinner tonight. That's one of the downsides when you have a multi-generational family. Not everybody likes the same things. I do my best to be fair and switch out the meals so everybody has a turn for what they like. But you can't satisfy everybody all the time. And he's a teenager now, so if he doesn't like what I'm cooking, he can go make something else, which is what he did. He got us a part of the loaf of the French bread that I used to make garlic bread, and he made himself a pizza. He cooked himself. He cleaned up by himself. I do not have a problem with that, and why am I going to argue over that? These have been some examples of how I use what is given to us through the food pantry to help subsidize throughout the week. Now, the next recipe I have is a very special recipe because, yes, our bodies need nurturing, but so does our mind. Our last little DIY recipe is actually going to be a homemade oatmeal milk bath. Now, this is totally customizable. Just make sure you do your research before you just start throwing things like willy-nilly in there, because some things are really bad for your skin. So just do your research. Here I'm doing powdered milk, oatmeal. I'm doing dried lavender, dried chamomile, and I'm throwing in some star anise. This is a perfect way to relax after a stressful day. I put mine in a little tea ball and I just tossed it in the bath. You can also put it in cheesecloth or satchels. And you can also just toss it in your bath if you want. Just be aware that there are big pieces here and it will go down your drain. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Thank you guys so much. This was my very first video, and I understand I got a lot of things to work out, so I appreciate you guys. And thanks again for visiting Our Zany Life.